TV soap news and spoilers say that on October 9th, the world of Beyond the Gates erupted into a whirlwind of raw emotion, fractured relationships, and heart-wrenching revelations. The sprawling estate, with its manicured lawns and opulent interiors, served as a gilded cage for the characters whose lives unraveled in dramatic confrontations, whispered confessions, and desperate pleas for redemption. This day, etched in the annals of the show's history, laid bare the complexities of love, jealousy, and the fragile bonds that hold families together, or tear them apart. What follows is a vivid exploration of the stories that unfolded, each thread weaving a tapestry of human struggle that captivated audiences and left them yearning for resolution. Hailey's descent into jealousy's abyss. At the heart of the day's turmoil was Hailey, a woman whose beauty was matched only by the ferocity of her emotions. Her marriage to Richard, a charismatic but enigmatic man, had always been a delicate balancing act. Richard's past, however, loomed like a shadow over their union, embodied in the form of his ex-wife, Dani. Dani, with her effortless charm and magnetic presence, was a constant reminder of what Hailey feared she could never fully possess, Richard's undivided heart. On this fateful October day, Hailey's simmering insecurities boiled over into a confrontation that was as explosive as it was inevitable. The setting was the grand drawing room of the estate, its crystal chandeliers casting fractured light across the scene.
Vanessa.
Hailey's eyes blazed with a mix of fury and desperation as she faced Dani, who stood poised yet defiant, her auburn hair catching the afternoon sun.
So what you think?
The air crackled with tension, every word a potential spark that could ignite an inferno. You think you can waltz back into his life and take what's mine? Hailey's voice trembled, not with fear but with the raw intensity of her possessiveness. Her hands clenched into fists, nails digging into her palms as she struggled to maintain control. Dani, unruffled, met Hailey's gaze with a cool, almost pitying look. Richard's not a prize to be won, Hailey, Dani replied, her voice smooth but edged with steel. If you're so afraid of losing him, maybe the problem isn't me, it's you. The words struck Hailey like a physical blow. Her face contorted, and for a moment, it seemed she might lunge at Dani. Instead, she stepped closer, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. Stay away from my husband, Dani.
And he just
This is your only warning.
You don't think he
The
hired
threat
somebody
hung
else
in
to
the air,
finish the task?
heavy and ominous, as Hailey turned on her heel and stormed out,
Brother,
leaving
I don't
Dani
want
alone in the
to
cavernous
know.
room, her expression unreadable.
If the police know
This
that
clash
Joey
was more than a
coerced you
battle
into
of
murder-
wills, it was a manifestation of Hailey's deepest fears. Her jealousy wasn't merely about Dani's lingering connection to Richard but about her own struggle to feel secure in a marriage built on the ashes of his past. As Hailey retreated to her private quarters, tears streamed down her face, mingling with the rage that threatened to consume her. Would she find a way to conquer her insecurities, or would her obsession with Dani drive her to the brink of madness? The audience was left to ponder the cost of her unraveling psyche. Bill and Andre's battle over Dani's heart. Across the estate, another storm was brewing, one fueled by testosterone and unspoken longing. Bill, a man whose rugged good looks belied a heart still tethered to Dani, found himself face to face with Andre, the charming newcomer who had captured Dani's attention. The two men stood in the shadow of the estate's sprawling oak trees, their voices rising above the rustle of leaves as their confrontation escalated. Andre, with his easy confidence and sharp wit, wasted no time in asserting his position. You need to let her go, Bill, he said, his tone equal parts challenge and mockery. Dani's moved on, and let's be honest. She's one of the hottest women alive. You really think she's pining for you? Bill's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing as Andre's words cut deep. The truth was, Bill hadn't let go of Dani, not entirely. Her laughter, her touch, the way she used to look at him, they haunted him, even now. Jealousy gnawed at him, not just because of Andre's proximity to Dani but because Andre represented everything Bill feared he wasn't: young, vibrant, and unburdened by the weight of a failed marriage. You don't know her like I do, Bill shot back, his voice low and dangerous. You think you can just swoop in and replace me? She loved me once, Andre. That doesn't just disappear. Andre laughed, a sharp, mocking sound that echoed through the trees. Loved you? Past tense, Bill. She's with me now, and you're just a ghost she's trying to forget. The confrontation teetered on the edge of physical violence, each man's stance rigid with barely contained aggression. But beneath the bravado, there was pain, Bill's rooted in a love he couldn't reclaim, and Andre's in the insecurity of knowing Dani's heart might not be fully his. As they parted ways, the tension lingered, a promise of future clashes that would test their restraint and reshape their relationships with Dani. Anita's beacon of hope. Amid the chaos of romantic entanglements, Anita emerged as a pillar of strength and wisdom. The matriarch of the family, her silver hair and gentle demeanor belied a core of unyielding resolve. On this day, she turned her attention to her daughter, Nicole, and her nephew, Marcus, both of whom were grappling with their own personal demons. Nicole's divorce from Ted had left her shattered, her once vibrant spirit dulled by months of heartbreak. She sat in the garden, her eyes fixed on the horizon, as if searching for answers in the fading light. Anita approached, her steps soft but deliberate, and sat beside her daughter. The air was heavy with unspoken grief, but Anita's presence was a balm. "You are stronger than you know, Nicole," Anita began, her voice warm and steady. "Ted's departure doesn't define you. Your heart is still whole, even if it feels broken now.
Buddy,
You'll find your way, and I'll be here every step of it." Nicole's eyes welled with tears, but for the first time in weeks, they were tears of release rather than despair. Anita's words, simple yet profound, reminded her that healing was possible, that she was not alone in her pain. Turning to Marcus, who had been watching from a distance, Anita offered similar encouragement. Marcus, struggling with the pressures of his burgeoning career and the expectations of his family, felt lost in the shadow of his own ambitions. "You don't have to be perfect, Marcus," Anita said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You just have to be you. The world will adjust." These moments of tenderness stood in stark contrast to the day's earlier volatility, offering a glimmer of hope that even in the darkest times, love and understanding could light the way forward. Anita's role as the family's emotional anchor was never more evident, her words a lifeline for those adrift in their own storms. Martin and Smitty, a marriage on the brink. In a quieter corner of the estate, Martin faced a crisis of his own. His marriage to Smitty, once a beacon of stability, was crumbling under the weight of unspoken resentments and growing distance. The couple sat in their shared study, a room once filled with laughter and shared dreams, now a battleground of silence and regret. Martin, his face etched with worry, broke the silence. "Smitty, we can't keep doing this," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. "I want to fix us, but I need you to meet me halfway." Smitty, her expression guarded, looked away. "Halfway, Martin? I don't even know where you are anymore. You're here, but you're not here." Her words were a dagger, cutting through the fragile hope Martin clung to. The rift between them had been growing for months, fueled by missed connections and unaddressed grievances. Martin's long hours at work, Smitty's feelings of neglect, and their inability to communicate had created a chasm that seemed insurmountable. As they sat in the dim light of the study, the weight of their failing marriage pressed down on them, threatening to drive them apart for good.
I'm sure he's got a few spares.
Martin's desperation to salvage their love was palpable, but Smitty's heart seemed to have hardened. "I don't know if I can do this anymore," she whispered, her voice breaking.
back at home.
The words hung between them, a finality that left Martin reeling. Was it too late to mend what was broken, or could they find a way back to each other? The question lingered, unanswered, as the scene faded to black. Vanessa's tangled heart. Elsewhere, Vanessa found herself grappling with a different kind of turmoil. Her marriage to Doug had been a cornerstone of her life, but her growing feelings for Joey, a close friend and confidant, had thrown everything into disarray. In a quiet moment by the estate's fountain, she confided in Donnell, her trusted friend and sounding board. "I don't know what to do," Vanessa admitted, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "Doug's been good to me, but Joey, he makes me feel alive in a way I haven't in years. But how do I choose between my marriage and my heart? Donnell listened, his expression a mix of empathy and concern. Vanessa, you need to be honest with yourself first, he said gently. If you're not happy with Doug, staying with him out of obligation won't fix anything. But you owe it to him, and to yourself, to figure out what you really want. Vanessa's mixed feelings for Joey had begun to erode the foundation of her marriage, and the cracks were becoming impossible to ignore. Doug, unaware of the depth of her turmoil, sensed her growing distance, and their once warm interactions had become strained.
Magic trick of all.
As Vanessa stood by the fountain, the sound of cascading water mirroring the chaos in her heart, she realized that her indecision could lead to the collapse of everything she held
I just
dear.
need you on my side.
A day of reckoning. October 9th and Beyond the Gates was a day of reckoning, a crucible in which the characters' deepest desires and darkest fears were laid bare. Haley's jealousy, Bill's lingering love, Anita's wisdom, Martin's desperation, and Vanessa's indecision wove together to create a narrative that was as compelling as it was heartbreaking. Each confrontation, each confession, was a step toward an uncertain future, where redemption and ruin hung in the balance. As the sun set over the estate, casting long shadows across the manicured grounds, the characters retreated to their private corners, each wrestling with the choices that would shape their lives. The audience, too, was left to grapple with the weight of what they had witnessed, their hearts racing with anticipation for what would come next. Would Haley's obsession destroy her marriage? Could Bill let go of Dani, or would his jealousy consume him? Would Anita's words be enough to guide Nicole and Marcus through their pain? And what of Martin and Vanessa, teetering on the edge of irreparable loss? Our TV channel Soap News and Spoilers is the place for those who want to know how the Salem story goes, as well as great Beyond the Gates updates and news, so subscribe to our channel to get what you want. Bye-bye.